All right, welcome to the Ravit Show. I am here in Stockholm at the Data Innovation Summit, and see who I have with me, founder and CEO of Dairdux, and the chairperson and the chairman of Data Innovation Summit. So nice to have you, Henrik, on the
Hi,
Ravit Show.
Ravit. Thank you for coming to my booth.
Oh, for sure. And love what you and Goran have set up for the community here in Europe. And I'm pretty excited to chat with you after years of being connected.
Yes.
I think we finally meet in
Finally
person.
meet you.
Yes, I'm very excited to learn more about Data Innovation Summit, the team here, and much more. Would you like to share a little about, just a little about yourself as well to our audience, but at the same time, what's happening at Data Innovation Summit 2024?
All right, let's start there. My name is Henrik Göthberg. Göthberg we go with.
Göthberg,
Yeah.
right.
So I'm the founder and CEO of Dairdux. So we are a data and AI adoption company. My background is within large-scale enterprise, working on building data teams inside business, so never working in IT. And the background here is that Goran came to me when we were thinking about starting Data Innovation Summit. He actually came to Vattenfall office and we need a data and innovation conference in Stockholm.
Exactly.
He came from the conference industry, but it was BI, reporting, finance. We need proper stuff. And he knew we had a lot of data and all that. So we talked about that. It was a little bit like, that's how it all started. We want more of a modern data stack, AI. We didn't talk about AI, we talked about data science, was new then. And from then on, I was in industry and took the role, not being part of the conference producer, but rather being part of the community.
Right.
And I was the community voice that he wanted as the chairman. That's how it all started.
This is amazing. I think one of the best conferences that I know that
Yeah.
happens in the Europe region, and you guys have such a great community. I've been here since morning. It's day one.
Yeah.
And the energy here is fantastic.
But it's amazing.
Yes.
Because we've done it for 9 years
9
now,
years.
and it's been growing like 300 to 5,000, and now we're like 3,500.
Wow.
But it's been growing in such a way, so we go around and high five each other, and it's like we have the alumni, right?
Right.
Like the friends that we have been around for nine of them.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very specific atmosphere. And one of the key things why I think we got there is because we've been very true to one core community, which has been what we call the DARE legend. So how do we become data and AI ready? And the whole point is then we have the data engineers, we have the data scientists, and we have the kind of modern data stack that brings this all together. So it's one of those conferences where the community can you can almost talk to anyone on the floor
Exactly.
about your specifics.
Yeah.
And then you can start a real conversation immediately. And this is this is what we wanted, and I think that is part of the magic here, what happens.
And it's all right that you're talking about, you can talk to anyone, because I was talking to a few leaders. That's what I do. I love talking to people. I'm people's person. But then everyone on the ground itself, they had such interesting insights about what's happening here at Data Innovation Summit. The team, the modern data stack team as well, which brings everyone together, and then you have all the enterprise leaders coming.
Yes.
There are such, the speaker lineup as well. I saw so many enterprise leaders coming and talking about various things. So I'm excited about the 2 days.
Yeah.
What's the big theme for Data Innovation Summit?
What do you mean? The
Like-
theme, yeah. So the big theme this year has been data to value in the age of applied and generative AI. So we were trying to pick a theme to sort of take a step back, think slow, what is happening, and how should we as a data and AI community maneuver, navigate, and react to that.
Right.
And the core summary is a little bit like, you've heard the terminology VUCA, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. You can talk about that on the whole world scale, but you can really talk about that in our industry right now as well. So we have vendors coming in and out. We have startup vendors that really, from nowhere, everybody's using them, and we don't even know if they're going to be around tomorrow, or if it's going to be merged, whatever. So there's all these things that you need to manage, right?
Right.
And then we have AI and all the speed of the AI inventions, right? We have like the volume and the variety and the speed of new use cases just popping up, and so this really puts this how should we as a community, how should I as a data person act in all this?
Right.
So we were trying to make the theme actually to say there is so much that is in the spotlight now. The underlying story here, we have Gen AI in the spotlight,
Right.
but every time you have a spotlight, you can get blind spots. It's like you're meeting a car and they have high beams on, and you get blinded to the moose, I'm in Sweden now, that stands right next to the, So the whole idea is a little bit like, it's fantastic, we need to work on this stuff. What are we not working on? What are we not talking about? And then coming back to the community, you talk to your vendors to understand what's in the spotlight, what is cool and what is new and all that.
Right.
And then you talk to your peers. You talk to everybody else. What is your problems? What are you struggling with? In order to try to uncode blind spots to go home and get a really enriched experience.
No, this is amazing because that's one of the things that I feel also, because you guys now have such a huge community.
Yep.
It becomes more like a responsibility as well for you guys to bridge that gap between the technology, the data and AI technology, and the community. Because sometimes like the enterprise leaders out there, they feel that, AI is good. How do we get there?
Yeah, but this is really interesting because when we started in 2016,
right,
we were the small community who maybe had data scientists in the large organizations,
right,
and we were not making it up on the agenda. It really shifted with generative AI. So all of a sudden now, we are in the spotlight.
True.
A certain technique is in the spotlight. So no one knew about data and AI on the detail level, and now they are flooded with generative AI,
right,
which is in one way fantastic, but I then want to put to the community, we have an obligation to steer the hype in a meaningful
100%,
way, right?
100%.
So this is the spotlight blind spot. The spotlight is awesome, generative AI is awesome, but don't forget about your data governance.
Data governance. Exactly.
Don't put the data governance in the blind spot just because of Gen AI.
Right. No,
That's
100%. I love it. And quickly on that itself, what are the key implications of the theme as well? Would you like to share a little about that?
I mean, I think one of the biggest changes that we need to kind of figure out is that we have so many different options on how we can solve a problem. So when we have that, it becomes super important to go back to the real user problem and actually even not only standing on the user problem, but actually diving all the way down into the user workflow.
Right.
So really understanding not only what the problem is that we're solving, but in the context how it's going to be used. Because that will sort of determine, if you know the workflow, that will determine the data work. Is this a Gen AI problem? Okay, do we need to be very careful with the data here in terms of quality, or is it more rough? And ultimately it will get you to, then the project looks like this, and then we should choose to work with these vendors.
Yeah.
So the data to value story needs to really be going the value to data story. We all knew this.
Yeah.
And I think in 2024, this is one of the key messages. Don't just go blind into one technique.
Exactly.
Think carefully about what you're really solving, and then work backward from there. And then you have your Gen AI where it fits, and then you, from the Gen AI topic, then we need to clean up the data behind here, and we cannot, all this comes from the right angle. I'm really scared when it comes from the wrong angle. Yeah.
Wow, I love how you've read the market pretty well, and that only happens because you're very close to the community.
Yeah.
You get to, obviously talk to all the peers, all the leaders out there, and at the same time you kind of spearhead that, okay, we want to bring this together, we want to bring back the value to data, and data's value to the community. So that makes a lot of sense. Just another interesting question that I had was around how does this relate to the North European data and AI practitioners and leaders in Europe? How does it fit in?
I mean, so the way I interpret that question is a little bit like, all right, so what's the buzz? What are people talking about here?
Yeah.
What are they working on at home? What headaches? What's high on the agenda? And no one can deny that we are scrambling to get a story around Gen AI. But at the same time, I feel when I talk to my friends in different enterprises, and we're talking, it becomes now like a little bit of a divide, right? Because and it's on one hand side we have the spotlight on Gen AI on the super high level, and the executives get excited about it, but they don't really have the detailed know-how what work goes into this. I mean, like we had Oscar Ståhl from Spotlight as the keynote. He was the CTO at Spotify for 7 years, and now he's leading their personalization stuff. He said it really well. It's grit, man. It's you know, when Spotify does this, maybe best in some of the best in the world in terms of building products with this. It's so much work. So here's the divide now that we really want to be better at explaining, right? And I think this is maybe one of the major implications, that all of us in different forms needs to work on this sort of divide between deeper know-how around data and AI and getting it to the business people. And I think we are all feeling that, because it's a little bit like, okay, we should really be doing data governance now. But if I spin that question, I'm not going to get the money for the project. You know, so we need to balance this. So we need to take the spotlight and run with it, but we need to also communicate the consequences, and we need to think about should I stop my other project or should I start this? So it's this whole allocation of focus that I think is the key implication. And I think in the Nordics, we have come quite a bit on our platform journeys. I don't know how it's in different, well, I would say we had the cloud discussion 4 years ago.
Right.
And we have platform 1.1. So most of the big corporations right now, they're on their platform 2.0, 3.0 journey. So when you add Gen AI into the mix, it's 3.0. So we are not. So we now have to refactor stuff. We need to rethink stuff. Right. We had a monolith. Maybe we need to go to data mesh, or distributed. And now we have this. Okay, where do we now need to think about platform? And it's like, and the word platform becomes trickier and trickier. You know, so it's easy to misunderstand, because we are not really talking about one technology or one technique, and maybe not even one vendor, right? So this is, I think, where Nordics are at. So we are platform maturity around 2.0. We are doing a second take on stuff. Right. And in this context now, we now need to do 3.0 in terms of Gen AI. Yeah, so we are not newbies, but we are not Spotify either, most of us.
Yeah, but you all have got into the depth of the platforms now, so which is fantastic. I think these are great insights for sure. And quickly wanted to also know a little about what can we expect in these 2 days at Data Innovation Summit, and what's next big thing for Dairdux.
All right. First of all, you know, the way this conference works is basically trying to unpack data and AI into different areas of competence. And if I use the blind spot analogy, okay, I flip it, what do we need to master? Right. So now it's 9 stages with the consecutive speeches with different themes on these, what's happening. And the presentations are a mix of startups and the big enterprises and the vendors. So you can really pick your poison. You can do everything, right? Yeah. And it's just a buzz. What you can expect is a buzz. And then what I really urge everybody to do, balance your time between, you know, what's in the spotlight and the keynotes. Go to the keynotes that also the enterprise is having, because here you get the blind spots. Yeah, here you get the sort of, you know, the struggles and all that. Right. So that's what you can expect here. Fantastic. And then of course, never forget, Data After Work is the best conference party. Yeah. Like you have 3,000 people, and then we flip it at 6 o'clock. Wow. And you need to be here to enjoy it. For sure. We have DJs. We have one of the biggest divas on television when it comes to, you know, Eurovision Song Contest. Yes. It's fun and mad. It's fun. I love the energy already. Yeah. So it's fantastic. Yeah, and Dairdux. What, you know, like, okay, what the Dairdux plug. Yeah. Now, so what we are working on is really on this stuff that brings data and AI into adoption. So we said it on stage. I said it on stage last year. Adoption is the quantum of innovation. True. So so we have technologies as inventions, And we now need to go in an innovation adoption cycle to get that into usage.
Right.
So when we take this story, that's what we're all about, from the data engineering adopting new ways to the business adopting new ways. And we work together with great friends as a consortium to no one can know all these pieces, right? But we are we are trying to work with clients adoption centered and then unpack how projects, programs, organizations should look like.
This is amazing.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Yes, I love what you guys are doing at Data Innovation Summit, but I think Dairdux is really at the forefront of doing a lot of interesting things for adoption of AI data. So thanks for this. It was great having you, and finally good to meet you in person.
Yeah,
Henrik.
finally.
Yes, we will keep the party moving at Data Innovation Summit for the next 2 days, and I will definitely keep our audience posted. We'll let them know if, I can plug the Dairdux website as well. They can learn more about it.
Awesome.
All right. This was great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
For visiting the Ravit
Thank
Show.
you for listening.
Thank you, everyone.